In this Design Principles for CTAs lesson, we'll review best practices for your CTAs and how to implement them. By the end of this lesson, you will know how to set your call to actions. As explained in our Design for Cognitive Load chapter, cognitive load makes it easy for users to miss critical visual cues on your site. If your consumers are in a rush, distracted, or overwhelmed by the site, they could easily miss a call to action. So how can you optimize your CTAs to ensure that they are immediately obvious to even the most overwhelmed of users? These 5 approaches are a good starting point: positioning, imagery, screen real estate, color scheme, and animation. Correctly positioning a call to action can have a significant impact on visibility and in turn on conversions. In countries where users read from top to bottom and left to right, people start at the top left corner and scan down the left side of the page. That means a call to action often performs better on the left than the right, even if it is lower on the page. Another factor that will improve conversions is positioning the call to action in a central content area. That is because this is where the user's attention is primarily focused. Here's a pro tip. Users are interested in the content of the page, and so give it considerably more attention than headers, footers, and sidebars. A call to action placed in the flow of the main content will often outperform the same call to action placed in the header or high on a sidebar. Imagery is considerably easier for people to process than text, reducing our cognitive load. So definitely focus more on images than you do on text. This is even more exaggerated if the imagery contains people in general or faces in particular. Humans are programmed to pay particular attention to faces, so the power that imagery has to attract attention can either be beneficial or detrimental to your conversion rate. Visual cues in the image itself can either draw the user's attention to or away from the call to action. If the image contains a person, we will tend to follow that person's eye line. If they're looking towards the call to action, that is where we will look as well. If they're looking away from the call to action, the chances increase that it will be missed entirely. Hey, by the way, did you know that you can hire a conversion rate optimization expert on Fiverr that could help you review your call to actions and other aspects of your site to ensure the maximum conversion abilities? If you're more of a do-it-yourself person, there is also a conversion rate optimization course on Fiverr by Rita called Conversion Rate Optimization: Convert Visitors into Buyers. Definitely check it out. Rita's great. So here's a pro tip. You can run a heat map software on a site to get a sense of how much users are scrolling on critical pages and where their attention lingers. A good heat mapping software on Shopify is called Hotjar. Definitely check it out because what Hotjar will do is to actually create videos of how people are using your site, and you can review those to figure out where people are dropping off and whether there are any friction rates. Users often spend less than 9 seconds assessing a page. That limited attention means that every element on the page potentially takes them away from the call to action. One response is to reduce the number of screen elements on the website. Have a look at the Google website, for example. There is absolutely nothing other than a logo and a search bar. The size of your call to action does have a significant impact on visibility, and by extension on conversion rates. A large call to action offers a secondary benefit too. It allows for the introduction of more compelling messaging. Microcopy on buttons is typically short because it is constrained by the available real estate. However, if the button is made larger, the copy could be made longer and allow for significantly more compelling call to actions. Another advantage of offering big calls to action is that they are much easier to touch on mobile devices. As these devices are becoming a critical business channel, optimizing interfaces for touch makes a lot of sense. Here's a pro tip. Use color to draw attention to a call to action by contrasting the color of the call to action with the rest of the website. If the predominant color scheme of the website is blue, then using a different color will help the call to action stand out. There is much debate about color and how to best optimize it for conversion. The truth is that it is influenced by many factors, including cultural differences. That's why it is important to know who your target audience is, as it can affect your choice of color and calls to actions. Get details on your target audience once they've purchased your product. Who are they? For example, red decreases conversion rate in many Western countries due to its association with danger. However, in China, red is associated with prosperity and luck, resulting in a very different reaction. The only danger in using color to draw attention to a CTA is that we do not all see color the same way. Did you know that 8% of men and 0.6% of women are colorblind? This can impact the effectiveness of this technique, depending on the color you choose. When used with care, animation is also a powerful tool for grabbing your customer's attention. In a static environment like a web page, we are programmed to notice even the most subtle movement. Simply put, movement draws our attention. And here's a pro tip. Animation is best used with subtlety. Avoid looping animation, but instead trigger it on load when the user scrolls. Like imagery, animation can be a dangerous tool if misused. Continuously looping animation can prove distracting, increase cognitive load, and preventing users from focusing on other messaging. Ultimately, no standalone technique will substantially increase conversion. However, when combined, these techniques can significantly increase the visibility of calls to action and therefore conversion. Next, we will explore cart abandonment and how to counteract it within the design of your store. See you there.